guys are doing awesome. This is KC Music Talk. Don't forget my shameless plug to don't forget to like and subscribe on the channel. I really appreciate it. Today we are here with a drummer, percussionist here in Kansas City, Kris Schnebelen. How you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me, Ron.
Yeah, no problem, man. So I definitely would have met you at your guys' jam at Eclipse.
Yes,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, God, 7 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Something like, whatever it was.
2007, 2008, I think.
Yeah, that was a really fun jam. You had all three of you guys up there, and you guys usually got a bunch of pretty decent players.
Yeah. Danielle had a lot of friends that were actually in the band that she was in before, Trampled underfoot, and they would come out a lot, and they were all very experienced players. And when you get good players, it kind of draws other players out to come out. But I was definitely lucky to have grown up in that environment because it was my first Trampled underfoot was my first band. So.
Oh, really? Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So and I was always impressed with you specifically, with the other two as well. But you just seem to never play over everybody, and you just kind of knew what to do, sort of, which is a huge compliment,
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So it was always really easy to play with you guys,
Well, growing up in our parents were musicians too, so, we grew up around bands and rehearsals and, just in that environment, so it came naturally, but, there's a lot to learn too, though, Again, like I said, playing with those other players and seeing, drummers like Greg Schauberg was one that was really influential early on, and just watching him perform, and the way he approached the songs. He's a very good drummer, and he works a lot in this town because of that.
Yeah, talk a little bit about your parents, because Nick came on the show a couple months ago, and he told me all sorts of stuff about your dad playing and that I didn't know about you guys.
Yeah, my mom and my dad were in bands growing up. Through my entire life, actually. My dad played guitar and sang. My mom was a singer, and my dad didn't really get into the blues scene until the late '80s. He played classic rock and country bands. We grew up in Rich Hill, about an hour and a half south of the city, and probably a lot more classic rock and country bands down there than our blues bands.
Right.
So, growing up, I just completely lost my train of thought there. Dang it.
You're playing down.
Oh yeah. So in the late '80s, my dad moved up into Kansas City from. In the late '80s, we moved from Rich Hill up into Kansas City, and that's when he started, jamming on the blues scene. My sister and my brother took to it a little earlier than I did, so they started jamming with my father, and that's how we all got kind of into the blues scene. And then that's how we, started hanging out with the people that used to come out to Eclipse and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, so this has been, again, a theme on the show, is pretty much all the heavy giggers that I've had on the show have all talked about music in the home. Every single one of them,
Right.
My mom was a vocal teacher, or my mom taught piano, yada yada, or my dad was in a band, family situation, Did they force that on you guys, or not at all, or how did that go?
Not at all. We all kind of just came to it naturally. My sister was actually into dancing and performance, did that kind of performance long before she sang. And my dad, she kind of got into it in about 16. My brother took to guitar about 12 years old. I always say that once he picked the guitar, we all never saw him again. He just went in the basement,
funny.
Started playing, but
Yeah, because that happens a lot. Where you hear the famous stories like Jackson 5. They were like, no, you're gonna do that, and it was forced. But then we hear, other stories like yours where they didn't really force it and it ended up happening.
Yeah, it's all quite natural.
Yeah. So with you, you said Trampled underfoot was your first band. How did you get started playing then?
Again, it was just one of those things. I always wanted to play drums. I got my first drum set when I was 12, but my parents split up and I moved into an apartment building for 4 or 5 years, 6 years almost. And so I couldn't play drums, so I tried bass, and I was a visual artist as well. Never really got into that. But then when I moved back out of the apartment situation, I got a drum set immediately and started playing.
Turn that down.
Yeah. And then my sister started, she gigged all the time at that point, so she did drummers, and my first gigs with her and a guy Walker Tippett at Winslow's Barbecue. I don't think Winslow's is even around anymore.
But like, when was that? Was that like late high school or after? Or
yeah, it
like...
would have been probably 2000, I think. 2000, maybe 1999 is when I.
Yeah, so you started a little bit later than a lot of people. A lot of people do that late elementary to or to middle schoolish age. Yeah, so that's cool, man. Well, I mean, you definitely you obviously picked it up pretty fast, right?
Well, again, like I said, the environment, just being around that, I know, just the language that you speak and the way that musicians communicate songs to each other, and then that kind of stuff. Just being around it is just just facilitated the I guess once you have the education, it's just a matter of getting it into your hands.
Right,
that education can be the part where a lot of people miss out.
Oh, sure, yeah, because because you're right, there's the kind of technique part that you can't fake. I mean, you have to just go through the reps of, like a diva, you got to do that. But there's also a whole other there's a whole nother deeper ear level going on, and I think that's probably what you're meaning. Is that it was just around you, and you can't not hear that, right?
Well, a lot of people I notice a lot of people. I'm not knocking anyone specific, but. To this day, I notice people that have been playing longer than I have, they have problems missing chord changes and structures and just not even getting the structure down, through the song. And it's as just, get an environment that I grew up in, I'm like, I hear that. I could hear that in my sleep. I'm calling chords with the bass player. Yeah. You need to listen to some songs. But sometimes I'm like, no, 4, 4, 4.
Right, yeah. I heard I was in a band one time and the drummer was doing, he's like, 4, ugh, freaking idiot, he's yelling out to the bass player. He's like, I can hear this crap.
Yeah.
So one thing that we've been talking about a lot on the show is the idea of what I've coined bands and then acts. Okay. And so in my opinion, I think Kansas City has 95% bands and 5% acts.
Right.
And Nashville is going to be completely opposite from that. They have frontmen running around everywhere. I mean, on the street with their stupid guitar, because they can't even get a gig. There's 8 million frontmen down there. But I got the impression that I always kind of used you guys as an example in town of an act.
Right.
With Trampled, and shtick is a really bad word. I don't mean that, but everybody's kind of got to get a thing that is them. And you guys kind of had the family band thing going on. And did you guys feel that there was something that you guys had that a lot of other bands didn't in town?
Well, one of the best guitar players, one of the best singers in town helped out a lot.
Right.
That does it a lot. Nick's a real strong singer. Everything else, one of the best you're gonna hear, and that is really I've seen some crap bands get away with a lot with a good strong singer. You're like, geez, these guys need some work, but the singer brings them in.
Right. Yeah. They have kind of a front person too, which is a totally different animal. People who are good or charismatic and good with the crowd and stuff. Right. Yeah. I mean, because what I think everybody in town is, well, not everybody, but a lot of people in town are trying to figure out how to get from that $300-400 gig, go to bar to bar to bar to bar to bar to bar, and then how to get up into that next, what I call kind of the next big tier is when you're, kind of opening at some festivals. You're not a huge band, but you're you're asking for maybe Flanagan's Right Hook might be in the next category where they can kind of guarantee the 1,000.
Yeah.
1,000 a gig or bring in 40 every show, 40 people, you know what I'm saying? And so I've been trying to figure out what the formula there is, and that's why I was kind of asking you that question of you guys, I mean, the people that are now at a point where you can kind of accidentally go down to IBC and have these festivals and have this next, do you have any sense of that, at least with your band?
Well, I don't know. One thing I notice a lot of bands, again, you said it earlier, the difference between a band and an act. one thing a lot of bands do is they don't treat, every song like a song. Like they'll just start out with the guitar riff to bring the song in or something to that effect. Classic rock bands I think are a little better about structures because they're playing other people's tunes that are actually structured, tunes, beginnings, intros, endings, sections, like rhythm sections, or rhythmic sections, but sorry, I lost my freaking train of thought.
Yeah, but are you talking about like them like taking a little bit more detail to their songs a little bit? Or
Yeah,
like,
sorry, just making a tune. Another thing is having original tunes that are decent, Anybody, you can go anywhere and find bands that play cover tunes and pretty good ones, But original music also helps. And then, like you said too about a charismatic front person, somebody you can actually talk to the audience and keep engaged. Like I can sing all night long, but I just would never be that person that, cut up over the mic,
Oh, sure, yeah.
So.
Yeah, man, I had, and that's what, because I keep saying on the show that I ran my own band for a little bit, kind of a jazzy, rock, funky kind of thing when I first got into town, but I was trying to be a front man and I wasn't, kind of what you were saying,
right.
And that was like, and I finally realized that I'm just not a front man. I'm a violin soloer in a band that can sing back up and, but I'm with my other buddy, and it's kind of a Johnny Ed McMahon kind of thing, but I'm not Johnny.
Right.
I'm Ed McMahon. I'm the second guy. I'm not the first guy.
Right.
And so that's maybe another thing of what I was trying to get at is you guys have not even talking to the audience, but just the charisma on stage of Danielle and Nick. It's like, I mean, it seemed like they were pretty good at that, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I said, Nick. I mean, I think he got into his first band when he was like 13, and from then he's been interested in fronting it and being the solo guitar player, or the lead guitar player. So he's very natural. And Danielle with her dance performance, that probably helped a lot with her just being on stage and being animated, and having to be around, in front of people, and then of course, the second she picked up that microphone, she really didn't want to do anything else. Totally. I don't think. Oh yeah. She's like, no, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I think it was maybe even the first night I came to Eclipse, and we did Stormy Monday, and I really like that song, and because it's a little bit different of a blues song, but and she sang it, and I got off stage and I'm like, oh man, that went really well. That was really fun. And some guy, I don't know who it was, he's like, yeah, because she could sing it. I mean, that's what he was telling me. He's like, that song sucks bad when you have a terrible singer singing it. But she's like, she sang the crap out of it. That was one of the, he wasn't dogging me. He was just saying that's
right.
Like.
That's actually one of the worst moments in a live music setting. I was at a jam one time, and this guy, God bless him, he did Stormy Monday, and there were like 12 people on the stage, and he counted it at a snail's pace tempo, and it was like nobody, half the band didn't even know the progression, and they're all trying to, he gives everybody a solo. It's 20 minutes of this tune, it's like, let it die.
That needs to happen. I mean, you got to get people up there that sort of can count stuff off, that have like thought it out a little bit, Yeah. So was there anything when you first started? Was there anything that was kind of tricky for you, or anything that you picked? I mean, you mentioned a little bit about hearing structures and stuff that was easy for you. Was there anything that was like kind of tough at first, or?
Well, just the discipline of learning your instrument. Early on, it was hard being in a band that was gigging all of a sudden. It was my first band. I didn't have 3 or 4 bands that we play every night, and to get acclimated to it. So that was a little difficult. But I studied a lot early on and tried to practice a lot, so I was able to keep up at least. So the tunes didn't fall apart. But that was it's hard, and I wish I'd been involved in school a little more, but they wanted you to start out in xylophone and stuff, and I'd already been around bands. Like I did not want to play xylophone. I was ready for a drum set. I didn't want to play school of music or music in school, but that's a good discipline. It's a good thing to have.
So that's another interesting thing we've talked about a lot with the idea of because I came from like training, like a lot of training. You know, I mean, 400 violin lessons in school and college, and you know, a degree and all that. But then I always talk with a lot of the blues and country guys who are all self-taught.
Right.
You know, and so what do you think about that? I mean, you just kind of hit on it about, you know, them. You have to play xylophone, like so you didn't like that, huh?
No. No, but I learned to read notation and on my own. But I think most serious players, the ones that you're going to find in you know touring bands and stuff like that, they're going to have a stronger background. The guitar, you can teach yourself, but you still have to understand the theory of, you know, very rarely we find a guitar player that's actually working a lot. That's like, oh, I don't know, I just played this.
Right,
you know?
right.
Like, no, that's a C major 7.
Right,
you know, they have to
yeah.
know the theory and all the intervals for the chords and stuff. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that know what they're doing, but they don't know what it's called, and they don't know the names of anything.
Right.
And
I've heard horror stories of people in session like getting a ration of guff from the person, you know, hosting the session, but they're trying to explain their song. They're like, no, I don't know what chord it is. It's just this thing. It's like, what? You're trying to. You got players out there that are trying to follow you. You know, these tunes, you can't even describe your music to them.
Oh yeah, sure,
Yeah.
And that can be frustrating for somebody. Just you know, my own experience. That can be, you know, the one that makes me crazy is when people get like dynamics and tone mixed up, because really what they're talking about, kind of the touch and the tone, or they're talking about the dynamics, but really what they're talking about is tone. But they call it dynamics, or they call dynamics tone. You know, it's that kind of stuff with it, the terminology. They get all mixed up because they don't know, you know, and I can't get mad at them for that. But so it sounds like it was just sort of getting thrown in and doing it. It was kind of.
Yeah, the experience is the best. It's the best medicine for all of it. You know, just the more, and that's one thing I've always thought about. Like when I practice or whenever I try to work on something, it's just the more you do it, the better you'll be. And that's actually one of the more. It's one of the more honest things about a life in music is that it's not a situation where you're going to work for somebody and you know you're going to build a company, but you're going to make a salary and they're going to get rich or something like that. Like the more you work, the more you'll get, and the better you are if you pursue it, the better jobs you'll get. It's just the way it is. And you know, there's some luck to it too, but you know, a lot of people, if you're really serious, you got to move to one of the big towns to get a good gig. You know.
Yeah, right.
I had a buddy of mine that ended up playing with Bonnie Raitt for years, and I heard the story was that he was a drum tech at a studio because he moved to LA because he wanted to get with a big band. So he started drum teching, and they asked him to do a take one day, and he played "I Can't Make You Love Me" on Naked Time, and then from there he had this career.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So that was obviously, you know, right. Well, that was two things. That was right place at right time, but you know what happened when he got on the drum set.
Oh, he knew.
Right, that doesn't fall out of the sky.
Yeah,
you know,
They knew he could play too. They knew he was a good drummer. So
we've talked about that on the show a lot. That's something the kind of, you know, personal responsibility kind of stuff is something that fascinates me, and because a lot of guys want their success to be other people's fault. You know, and that's kind of what you're hinting at is that, you know, so would you say that's sort of a half and half type of a thing where, I mean, you do have to have a little bit of luck.
Yeah, definitely. I know guys that work hard and they get, you know, decent gigs and they end up not working out or, you know, stuff like that. There's a lot of luck to it, but I think that, well, I forget where it comes from, but I read it somewhere once that luck is opportunity meets preparedness.
Yeah.
So you've got to put yourself, like I said, if you move to LA, you know, you're gonna put yourself in a situation where it can happen.
Yeah.
Right. You know, how many big touring acts are coming out of Kansas City? Not many.
Yeah, right, sure.
But you know, you've got all the big bands that live in LA, so you know you would move there, and then you have to back it up with a good reputation and good skills.
Yeah, and we've talked about reputation a lot too. Is that I've heard so many guys see how many great players there are out there, but then you know their attitude's a wet mop, you know, or they you know they won't answer the phone, or they're flaky, or you know, and that I would guess that would be one advantage of, in a way, of trampled underfoot? Are you doing a family band? I mean, there'd be other, I'm sure there's other, people harping at, they're harping at each other in a different way, but I would think that, you're probably gonna see the guitar player again.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's not that, is he going to show up ever again, right? I mean,
right. No, it was definitely, there's a lot that would be easy to take for granted, for, in another situation, for sure. But, one of the things that was really odd about the band is when it started doing well, we weren't a business. We didn't know anything about business. We were musicians in a band.
Right.
If you're going to have a band and you're going to actually try to do something, it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about that mentality. I ended up having to do like weekly inventory for the shirts and CDs and stuff. 'Cause, we'd go out on a week and a half run and we would only have 30 CDs.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to play 2 festivals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, all of a sudden those elements start to fall in place and you have to either learn it or, don't do it. Or like you said, reply to people. All of a sudden we have an online store where people are wanting to buy product. A lot of times people don't answer the phone,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't see those opportunities.
So how do you guys deal with that? I mean, did you 3 do it, or did you
we all
find
share.
some other family or a manager or something? Like, how did you handle all of that?
Initially, through the bulk of it, we did it ourselves. We just divvied up the duties and did it that way. And then we had a manager towards the end, and then the booking agents help with the booking side.
Sure, right. Which is a big part. We've talked about that on the show, Crapload too, is the whole business side of music that everybody just hates.
Yeah.
No,
like I said, if you're gonna run a band, you're running a business. And,
Right.
And not only now do you have to do the music side of it, but you have to do the business side of it too.
Right.
Well, these guys will come up short of their CD, like 2 or 3 songs, because they're accountants and they're inventory clerks, and they're all these other roles, and then they have to sit down and write a song at the end of the day. After you're exhausted.
Yeah, right, yeah. That's something that I've also been fascinated by because it's so annoying, and because none of us are good at it.
Right.
Some of us are good at it, but not very many, and that's that would be one of the top 3 things I think why bands break up, is because they don't think about how we're bringing the people, how are we advertising,
Right.
Are we gonna get shirts, right? Who the hell's doing all that?
Well, like how many, what percentage of your T-shirt sales are large shirts? How many do you buy? The first time we went out, I bought 25 of every kind. I had 25 3XLs forever.
Yeah, that's
and
funny.
And then I started looking at the numbers. I'm like, oh, well, about 50% of what we sell are large black tees.
Yeah.
So boom, and then then all of a sudden those things kind of fall into place. The first T-shirt, I swear, we probably still somewhere there's 3XLs of those.
Yeah, that's funny.
They're like, just buy 25 of each.
Yeah. How would you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As a musician, we don't know about that crap.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Actually, it's kind of funny when I was going to school for automotive mechanics actually, and since it's Associates of Applied Science, I had to take business classes, and that was kind of a weird thing that I was going through right when we first were discussing the band. So all of a sudden, those pieces kind of fell into place as well.
Oh yeah, well that meant to be.
Taxes
Sure, yeah. Yeah, taxes is a whole other boring subject that we won't get into, but that's but like it's super important. One thing that guy down there did to me was he goes, so how much did you make last year? And I go, well, I don't know, and he's like, well, yeah, it's not that it's low or high, it's like how much was it? Well, you didn't write it down, you didn't make your little spreadsheet, and and that's stuff that we just don't want to do, but you're putting all this effort in, and then you get to the end of the year and you're like, wow, that was only $4,000.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean it's something. It's not zero, but it's wow, I did a lot of work for $4,000.
Another way I can work less, not work quite as hard.
Right. Yeah. Or use your time more wisely, because I mean $4,000's nothing as an example, but that's a lot of. There's a lot of work for,
Yeah, a lot of cold gloves.
Yeah, right, yeah. So talk to me a little bit about like drumming, and specifically. Is there something that you've watched? Because the show is a lot for these kind of 20-ish-year-olds that are starting into this kind of gigging scene. Do you have any things that you've seen younger drummers do, or drummers that are kind of not quite getting it, or great drummers, or talk a little bit about that?
One thing I think is important for drummers specifically is I see it like the singer standing on my shoulders. So when we're moving through a song, you have to be deliberate, you have to be calm, no sharp movements. It's kind of like driving too. You don't just grab the wheel and go like this to a song, speed up, slow down. But you've got this person standing on your shoulders, and in that way, it's kind of that, when you're playing with somebody, it's kind of that level of communication. Not that you're making eye contact, but like I have my arm against your arm, we can feel each other's, what we're doing, how we're moving. So I got this person on my shoulders, and they're the ones that need this. The voice needs to be the loudest, and they're the ones that need to communicate to the audience. They're the ones talking to the audience. So I think some players treat it like they're the one, like they're part of that role. They're like they need to be. They're part of the stardom and all that. Knowing your role on stage as a drummer is very important. And it's the way that you're going to get a lot of gigs. And it's probably playing about 80% less of the stuff that you want to play or that you practice or that you worked on. But I think about it like that. You move with the person, and you're going to be calm. They obviously want to go a certain direction, so we can go this way, or maybe some condition, I'm going this way for some reason, and we all have to move together. That's one thing I think about a lot when I'm playing.
Yeah. That's interesting. You mentioned the "you're up against them" thing. I've never heard anybody say that before, but I mean, the obvious metaphor is dancing. You're kind of moving together. But it because I totally agree with you. You've got to set that kind of foundation, but it's so. Because I always think of it, bass and drums, like the offensive line or something. When you're not there, I mean, it sucks.
Right.
When the drummer and bass player, especially bass player, it sucks. Everything sucks. But then when you get off the stage, they're all like, "Oh, lead singer," you guys don't get any credit or whatever. And,
right.
Wow, a little bit, but it's so. And you mentioned a little bit about guys playing too much. Your 80% comment,
Well, I had one defining moment. One of the defining moments in the later part of my drumming career. We were in a studio and we were with this producer, and we did the first couple of tracks and first couple of tracks. And he was like, "Hold on a second." Comes in. He's like, "Hey man, just just do it like this. Play it just like this. Do pop, do pop. Just do that." I was like, "Okay." And so we do a couple more takes. He stops the session to go. He's like, "Go home tonight and listen to the radio. Just listen to the way those songs are performed. Because I know at the time, you try to think you're gonna bring some flavor to it, but reality, to circle back to what I said earlier, you have a role. It's like I have, I'm this role in this." In this situation. So if I'm trying to do this, then this not only is this not getting covered, this doesn't work.
Right.
So I didn't. That really just kind of it hit me that's the role. Doing things patterns and that's the education in it. And when you listen to the radio, it's not like what a lot of people do. They want fills every 4 measures and all this stuff. And sometimes I'm still a perpetrator of it sometimes, the jams, but it's a little looser. When I'm actually on a band situation, or I try hard just to make it sound like a recording, like the way I would play it in the studio.
Yeah.
With the dynamics, with the crashes, with the fills in the right spots, going, in the elevated parts of the song.
Right. Like that. That's interesting that what he didn't tell you was go listen to some Neil Peart from Rush.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What
exactly.
he told you was go listen to the radio.
Yeah. Turn on the radio and listen to one of those tunes, and it's not. It's simple and solid.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of we've talked about the different genres a lot on a lot of these shows too, and how I think that's with country especially, and I think blues is in that category. Is that when you get over to jazz, you can do all sorts of stuff, and it's and everybody wants you to, and it sounds good.
Right.
But as soon as you get back over to country, for example, those jazz drummers are like, this sucks. And that's the kind of discipline of you have to stay there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You have to do literally this, and that's what you need. That's what the song needs.
Yeah.
And I mean, I mean, blues is kind of similar to that, right? It's not
Yeah.
supposed to be insanely complicated, right?
Definitely. And some of the, I had this guy tell me a story one time about Sam Lay. He hung out in Chicago and he walked into a club one time and he said the band was, it was awesome. They were doing slow blues. It was, you know, the band was pumping. And Sam Lay was just leaning back against the wall and just hitting the snare on the 2 and the 4. And he said you almost didn't even miss anything. I mean, just like the placement in the
That's
you
funny.
know, you know, boiling it down.
What, signing autographs and these like,
No, you just leaning against the wall and drinking and everything.
that's funny, yeah. That drives me nuts with the fills. We talked about that on the show a lot too. With in our country band, we had 3 of us. It was like a lead guitar, steel, and me, all filling right after the vocals.
Right,
Vocal, fill, vocal, fill. And then when I'd have the drummer and the bass player and the rhythm guitar player all trying to do some stupid little thing right there, now there's 6 of us.
Well,
You know,
rhythmically,
filling right in that stupid little spot, and you know.
drums can rub rhythmically, but you know the lead instruments they can rub with the notes too. So now all of a sudden, you're every time somebody plays, you're boxed into something else, and it's like wait, it's taking me in a different place.
Yeah, that's funny. So you'd say that, you know, playing too much or whatever. Is there anything else that you've noticed other drummers do that?
Too loud is
Too
another
loud,
common offender. I was reading this article. I can't remember the magazine. It was years ago. It was a music magazine, and it showed this. Basically, I was just flipping through it, and they showed this hierarchy of levels for like recording, like what are the levels? Like out of 1 to 100, you know, the vocals are here, the snare drum here, and then it kind of showed all the other instruments and where where those levels are supposed to be.
Like volume wise.
Yeah, exactly.
Snare right under vocals.
Yes, vocal, snare, and then everything else like
Wow.
down here. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, that's basically where it's at. And like you notice, it doesn't say toms. You know, you know, they're filling through. No, they don't keep them quiet. But yeah, so you know, I you know, keep that in mind. You know, snare's got to be loud and present, but the rest of the drum set doesn't have to be.
China cymbal wasn't too.
No. Those can be so good or so bad. I used to love watching Go-Go play. He'd set 2 of them up, and he wouldn't hit them except for maybe one time a night. I'm like, that's how you use it in China.
That's
one
funny.
moment, it's like, here we go.
Yeah.
But some guys get out there and start beating the heck out of them. It's obnoxious.
Yeah, Go-Go had an interview on the show. His went really good. He's a great drummer, man.
Oh, he's one of my favorite and probably the best I've ever seen live.
Oh yeah.
Like, technically speaking, yeah.
He'll like he thinks what he's doing before he does it. So you know he'll you know, like I mean he knows exactly what he's about ready to do, and he's just like screwing with you the whole time. It's so easy.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
practiced so much, and he can think through. You know, I don't know. He cracks me up.
I like to watch him when he plays. He'll sometimes play when he gets ready to do a big field. He'll play like this. Oh, here he goes.
Yeah.
He'll like he'll situate, get himself square, get himself around the kid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, man. And so yeah, and there's a lot of guys too that I've noticed drummer wise that will not be able to hear straight and swung.
Right.
That drives me nuts too. Like,
In this town, you're not gonna get a gig like unless you can get that. Oh my lord, yeah.
You mean no? You know, like, I don't know. That always cracked me up at jams when they'd call some tune and the dude's never played a shuffle. And you're like,
No, that's funny too. You see these, you know, the classic rock guys will come in and call it a quick shuffle. And I used to go do. They're like,
yeah.
pumping.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, that's like walking bass for a bass. I mean, it's like one of the, I don't know, top 4 things you do.
Yeah.
On everything. I mean, country, blues, rock, jazz. Yeah, I mean, and what would be your guys' kind of big 3 or 4 things that all drummers have to know?
Good straight 8-beat, which is just. Keep that nice and tight and solid. A good shuffle, slow blues, and I like just a simple kind of rumba, Latin.
Right.
I know I have 3 or 4 different variations that I do, but
Yeah.
just something like that.
Right.
You can get through most gigs with those 4.
Sure. I mean, even at the blues jams, they'll call like a cha-cha kind of thing,
Mhm.
once in a while,
Yeah.
Latin-y
Yeah, yeah.
something or other, yeah.
Mhm.
And this is another one that I find fascinating about drummers is what do you think the key is to those slow blues? Because you guys get to go kind of go on the shuffles and the funks and the straight 8 rock kind of stuff. What do you think the key is to all those slow ones for a drummer?
What I do is I keep the meter here and but this has to be pretty far back in the beat.
Mm.
I keep the kick drum probably pretty close to the 1 and the 3, but yeah, the snare's got to be way laid back. It's gonna be,
Sure.
I mean, sometimes I'll even go if I'm feeling a little tight, I'll even go through the motion wind up and hit it instead of going pap. I'll go crack or take a nice deep breath as I'm hitting it. Breathe out while I'm swinging, so I don't get all
Right. That's to kind of calm yourself down a little
yeah,
bit?
just calm the motion. I don't really get nervous anymore, but just calm the movement. Just nice slow exhale.
Yeah, do you think, so on those slow ones, I'd bet the typical thing would be to speed up, right?
Yeah,
Not
the
too
tempo.
slow.
I think I noticed a lot more tempo issues with the slow ones.
Sure, yeah. That's interesting. And so do you find any difference with the amount of playing? Like you were talking about too many fills and is there a different problem with the slow ones than the medium stuff, or?
The slow ones usually have scorching guitar solos. They're usually ones that they build up, more emotional, a lot more emotional moments in the song. So, I think that I see less opportunity probably to fill, like a funk song. Drummers, that's probably one that you're going to be more active on, as far as filling and really getting into it. But slow blues, I mean, you're going to focus a lot more on dynamics, building a song, and then the way the guitar player subdivides, there's really not much else to do unless you're doing it with him, or
Right.
Sometimes if a guitar player repeats something 2 times, then that's kind of my cue to say, okay, well, now you're making a concept, so we can add to that.
Right.
I'll hit it with you next time, or maybe I'll do something complimentary or counter hit or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, I've heard that a lot too, because some jazz guys get really into that kind of stuff of the reading of the soloer, and so I've heard different things. I've heard guys that really like to do that. So like you said, some guy does a ditty twice, and you can just feel that he's going to do it that 3rd time, so I'm going to bow with it or whatever. But I've heard a lot of guys, some other guys have said too, that there's some drummers that just do that the whole gig.
No, you can't
know what I mean?
you can't get up your butt. You gotta just keep it loose. But
but they're mirroring and reacting the whole show,
right?
And they're doing it like not on literally every riff, but every single solo. They're doing that 4 times or something, and it can probably get too much with that
I call it
too,
hit
right?
City. Hit City. It's just
hits
all over.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, just play through it.
Right. Like probably triplets would be an example. You go, and then you can tell somebody's ding, 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 bom, bom, bing, bom, bom, and then the drum,
But again, that would be out of would it be like a 16 measure grouping? The drummer would play the last 4.
Sure.
With it, or the last 4 beats, or the last 2 measures with them,
Yeah, okay. So that's cool. So with the Kansas City scene here, because the show is a little bit about everybody in Kansas City. How has Kansas City for you? They've obviously embraced your family real hard, and you've gotten a lot of love here, and whatever. Can you talk a little bit about our scene we got going on here?
Traveling a lot, one of the first things I noticed is the bar is very high here. Even some of the people that we would think are knuckleheads on the scene would run the roost in some of these other cities.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the bar is really high, and the level of songs that can be performed at most Kansas City jams, it's not like that in most places. Kansas City is a very strong food and music town, which is why I love it. So
So many freaking restaurants here.
Oh, the good ones too.
But
It's
they're
got an
good, yeah.
identity. It's a lot of a lot of cities don't have like a food identity. You know, we have
Mhm.
barbecue
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But the scene, it's educated, and I like swing music, so
Yeah.
fit right in here.
No, sure. But you, so, and because I would think, and I always use like Cincinnati or something as an example of another kind of biggish town that probably doesn't have our music scene.
Right,
You know,
right. Yeah, yeah.
random other towns like that one. So you, because you're talking about us getting a little bit, not complacent, what's the word? But taking for granted some of the talent we have here, huh? And so you think some other towns, when we hear, you know, somebody like a Dave Hayes or somebody like that, you know, where we're like, I hear them all day, but then you go to another place and it's like, oh, these guys suck, you know.
You go to IBC too, like half those bands, like, oh, this is the champion guy.
Yeah, of
we're
their
sending them
town.
in. You're like, dude, this guy stinks.
Yeah.
That's your best dude
Yeah,
in the
right.
scene.
I could get 6 random jammers, you know, random
Yeah,
decent
yeah.
jammers from, you know, and they
Never played the tune before.
They never- yeah.
They'd shred it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the impression that a lot of guys in Kansas City are what I call studio guys, and not like the Nashville guys, but you get them up there and they can pretty much handle any blues you need.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the entire jam scene. I mean, really the entire scene, period. But like you just said, you know, that's the thing that we're really good at. We're a jam town. I'd bet that Nashville is not a jam town kind of like that. They're kind of more planned out structure.
Yeah.
Everybody's recording stuff, you know.
Right.
But here, everybody sits in on each other's shows here, don't they?
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
common thing that. Well, you can bring your guitar, but you leave it in the car. You know, it seems like it's a given thing.
Yeah,
But
right,
usually
right.
they're going to ask you to play. You know,
Yeah.
they'll ask you to sit in for sure.
Yeah. Because didn't you guys do sort of kind of an invite-only thing at BB's for a bit, or I heard
Yeah.
something like that? you
Well,
know?
basically, we've always loved jamming with people. We've always treated our gigs like that. It was always kind of we'd get most people up. But the problem is, we'd run into some of the people that come out to the open mic jams would come out to BB's and try to jam. It's like, dude, we've had situations where club artists say, get him off the stage now because
Yeah.
people are leaving.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sad, but it's the reality. So we had to kind of control that because everybody wants to play.
Sure.
And not everybody can, not everybody's fit to play in front of 200 people at BB's on a Friday night, you know?
Yeah, I was about ready to say that. I mean, like, yeah, they of course want to play for your crowd.
Yeah.
You know, 200 people at BB's, you know, like, and yeah, I've thought about that a lot with the open jams and the idea of, you know, who should, you know, and this is where I I don't know if I've gotten in any trouble, but where I'm getting disagreement from a lot of people is who should be up at that jam, you know, any of them, you know. I mean, is there a baseline of ability, you know? It needs to be low, but is there a baseline, and anybody below that needs to like go home and practice? You know, that's my
There's definitely
opinion.
a cumulative number. You've got to have so many points in order for a song to pull off. And like maybe you've got a 10 and an 8 and then a 3 and a 2, but you still have to have a certain amount. There's definitely an art to running a jam. You know, it's
You called them a 2.
well, there's somebody out there. They're not as far along. They're just not as far along. But
Maybe they were like you. Like I started like a week ago, right?
Yeah,
You get thrown
yeah.
into a band, you know.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, well,
But you can have like maybe somebody that's singing for their first time, but you don't want to put them with somebody who's playing drums for their first time.
Oh, right, yeah.
Get to the tune. But no, my sister was always really good at that, is putting together groups that could, because you want them to sound good,
sure.
and everybody wants to have fun and play, and nobody, you don't want like Pato, God bless him, some nights on BBC or the Salute, he's up there all night long, but you don't want to keep one guy there all night long. You want to change people up.
If you can, and no bass players show up, you know.
Hey, I'm
too
a
bad.
friendly guy. I've got a lot of drummer friends, and I
Yeah,
have a nice
sure.
drum set, so I get quite a few drummers out. I'm lucky
sure.
on that. I'm lucky on that.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, yeah, and I know that you've got to understand that everybody has their first time, and they suck. and everybody sucks, you know. I mean, and so I get that, you know. I get that all of us that are a little bit more, you know, veterans of even as young as we are, you know. I mean, you guys are veterans. You've done a lot of playing already, and so, you know, we all understand that you got to kind of get up there and suck a little bit, you know, at your first 10 jams or more or less, you know. But yeah, I don't know. You get it, you know. I mean,
there's some that like, oh my lord, there's a couple jammers that would come out all the time. They're ridiculous. They're not very good. God bless them. They're never gonna be
names.
good.
Come on, I want to hear.
And then they pull me aside and tell me I'd have to get my learn my tunes and stuff. I'm like, dude, you are a piece of work.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Piece of work. Come up here, stink up the joint, and then lecture everybody about their ability.
Yeah, and so it's a give and take, and that was nice. I mean, I'm sure with you guys were all three, you know, very good players in Trampled Foot anyways, and it's, I mean, you get to a point where you don't, at least in a band sense, you kind of accidentally don't have to really deal with that anymore, you know, because before the band starts or first rehearsal, you can kind of come in. Because I'm always trying to figure out what's the solution to that. You know, and at a jam setting, well, you know, house band is kind of there to police that a little bit, but it's a jam, you know. But in bands, how do you deal with that? And the solution I've come to is you find like-minded. Yeah, that's the solution, and I hate that. I hate that crap.
No, it's funny because I always think that it's hilarious how little the music business has to do with actually music and its personalities. When you're playing with people, man, you could be the best drummer on the planet, but if you don't click with anybody, you're not, you know. Right. Because it's a lot of hours in the van. It's a lot of communication, you know, and it's art, so people are personal. It's a personal. You're communicating about them personally, you know. So people are typically a little more sensitive in those areas. So it's a lot to deal with in that department for sure.
Oh yeah. And that's probably very, like you just said, it's just like the business side. I mean, it's very, very, very important. How many good guitar players are there here in town, or good drummers? I mean, well, crapload. But
right. Yeah. Put them in a band parade. Right. Some of them might kill each other.
Right. Oh, sure. Yeah. And that's why that guy is out at jams all day. You know, you know, because he's you know, sure, you know.
We said something earlier too that I thought of. A lot of you can get some frustrated players out the jams too, though. That, you know, people that are looking for gigs go out there. So some of them are like that, and they get frustrated because they don't sound good because they're with a jammer. But you're in a jam, dude.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's 1 in 5 you're going to get a great jam. Really, probably 1 in 3, 1 in 5 jams, depending on who you get up with or you come with. You know? Right.
Yeah, and yeah. So that's what I've been. I mean, that's probably taken me, and I still haven't really, you know, accepted it in here. You know, it's like I you know, mentally understand that you just can't force other people, and you can't make them get better, and you can't make them practice. So it's taken me 15 years to like literally accept that the solution is you go find it just feels like giving up, you know, when not going to talk to that guy and see, you know, hey, you know, this was great, you know, but, you know, out at this jam we kind of do 40% shuffles, and you didn't know how to do a shuffle, you know. It's great that you came out, but, you know, maybe next time, you know. Well, Paul Greenlease could go, you know, I think he would have enough muscle in town and enough respect to go up to that guy really, really, really nicely.
Oh yeah.
And say that.
Well, most people are inclined to, they're passionate about music. Most people are inclined to talk about it. Some people may get sensitive, but I think it's completely appropriate to do something like that, you know. Yeah. Say, hey, dude, why don't you check this tune out? Dude, that last one we did was a lot like this, so if we do it again, you know, you can word it however you want.
Right. And that would be a good way to word it, you know. That'd be a not, you know, you're a piece of crap, you know, kind of way to word it.
You learn your crap.
Well, I know what you want to say now. But yeah, I've tried to figure that out a little bit recently, and how to say stuff to people. And sometimes you say it and it doesn't matter. You know, they're going to get pissed no matter how you say it, and there's nothing you can do. But
I think more often than not, those kinds of people are going to be the people that you're going to see over a 15-year period, and they're going to sound and play just exactly the same way they did 15 years ago. They're not really looking for education or looking to themselves, you know. because they're probably already there in their mind.
Oh yeah, they're the dude you were talking about, right? Yeah, they're stinking up the place, and then they come up to you and like, how come you didn't, like,
yeah, you learn those hits, and well, you need to call out tunes people know, and you need to go home and work on your vocals. Sorry, wait, no, I mean, good to see you again.
Yeah, good. Oh, I mean, good to see you. No, just kidding. Yeah, that's funny, man. As a teacher, I'm fascinated by that, about how to say it to them. But really, what I'm talking about is if you say it to them.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
if you even if this is even worth saying right now.
Right.
And so I've started to figure out that sometimes it's just, this isn't going to do anything right now, and I need to just go to find another band.
Right.
Or,
right.
at least in a band setting.
Well, and if you have a jam, a lot of people, it can be a regional thing. So maybe going to another jam. If you're going to one jam, you're repeatedly frustrated with these players. They keep showing up, and you go to another jam, and maybe it'll be a little better.
Oh sure, yeah. And there's a lot of them in town. I mean, there's
That's another thing you don't find anywhere else.
8 blues jams in town, maybe at least. Yeah.
One every night, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Usually.
Yeah, that's cool. So we're probably close to wrapping up here. Tell me that one gig you were talking about. You're talking.
It was the weirdest gig. It was over in Sierra, Switzerland, and it was it's a weekend. It was one performance on a Saturday evening, which is just weird to go all the way over there and go through all of this just for one 90-minute, maybe even a 60-minute set. We were opening up for the Fabulous Thunderbirds. So we Friday or Thursday night or whatever, we leave and head over to Europe, and so we get there, we're already all wiped out. Ended up going on this long tour, play the festival. We're getting ready to leave in the van. We have to leave. It's like a 5-6 hour drive to the airport in Zurich, I believe, and we have to leave at like 3:30 in the morning. So we're just completely wiped out. We're finally starting to get acclimated to Switzerland time. We're getting ready to go back, to the United States. And we have a 5-hour drive. We have to get up at 3:30 and wait for this shuttle. And it's always, you never just get up and walk right into the shuttle and lay back down. You have to sit there in the lobby and wait for 20 minutes for him to show up. We were waiting for this guy to show up. Well, it turns out it was Kim Wilson from the Fabulous Thunderbirds. He was catching the same flight we were back to the States. So we get in this van, and he actually jumped in first and took the bench in the back. And he's like, "Give it to the old man," and ran back there and laid down. And we get underway, and we get on the highway, and this driver turns on ABBA's Greatest Hits. And I mean, he's probably got the stereo at 50% volume when we start this whole 5-hour ordeal. So we're all trying to sleep, we're all wiped out, and he just keeps letting the CD cycle over this 5-hour drive. And at some point, each one of us had woken up and asked him to turn it down. He turns it down a little notch, maybe a little bit. We maybe got him to turn it down halfway throughout the whole 5.5-6 hour ordeal, but none of us got any sleep. And of course, the airport was packed. It was just, it was a surreal 72 hours. And we get back, and I'm sitting there at my house like, what just happened?
Oh, sure. So you had like your 12-hour flight over there.
Yeah.
And then you had hardly any.
Well, that's another thing people don't realize about these gigs is you fly over 3-4 flights over to Zurich, and then you get in a van and drive for 5 hours to a festival.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's Quit name dropping European towns I've been to. Yeah, well, the time we're in Barcelona. No.
Different Spanish.
Yeah. That's funny though. I mean, I know I've heard a lot of comedians talk about the downtime of being a comedian. Where they're like, everybody sees the lights and everybody's giving you drinks. Everybody's giving you drinks and and the chicks and all this stuff, and then they don't see them at the hotel room. At 2:30 in the morning, eating Skittles, because there's nothing open, and
right.
Did you get how many times did you guys play in Europe?
So many. We went over there at least 2 or 3 times a year for 6-7 years. Yeah, we played Norway a lot. We had 1 or 2 tours in Norway every year after 2008, which was pretty cool.
How is the appreciation over there? Like insane?
It's great. It's strong. Wow. It's really strong, especially in Norway.
Wow, that's really cool, man. I mean, it's not surprising because definitely Europe has been very pro music for hundreds and hundreds of years. Through the classical era and obviously that's kept as a culture thing over there. A little bit different from here. We love music here, but You know,
People, they're a lot more excited about it. And something else I realize is that it's not our music, so it's something they don't have there. You know,
that's
and even
true. Yeah.
you know, people that even the bands that try to do it, I mean, they just can't. You know, they usually can't do it with the proficiency that we can because it's in our blood.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I've heard a lot of guys. I heard Matt Hopper. I don't know if you know him, but a guitar player here in town, and he went down to Brazil, and he was talking about that they all wanted to play swing. You know, he went to like a Brazilian jam basically, and they were like, "No, come on, swing." He's like, "Oh no, man."
He wanted to do
he wanted to do bossa.
Yeah.
And then
They're like, "No, play blues too."
Right. I mean, he listens to him play swing, and it's good. I mean, they're all good players, but it's not even like average or decent average good Kansas City guys.
Right,
you know, it's like medium
right.
swing. Like we tear the crap out of that here.
Yeah.
Like that's our thing. You know, is our kind of tempo and but then you know he had them and you know, come on, let's play a samba, and they're like, okay, you know, and it's just freaking cloud. You know, he's like, I can't even deal with this right now. Like you guys are playing on a cloud and shit. I mean, it's so good, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Rhythm is just smooth. It's just smooth as butter, and like I don't know. But that's funny because we think of how many of those like swingy blues bands you think they get. You know, probably not as many.
No. I'm pretty sure I know or know of the tour that you're talking about because there was a guy, the promoter that works down there, and I've heard of several people going down there to Brazil specifically. So
right, but it's the same sort of thing of them starving for not music, but the specific kind of That's cool, man. Well, definitely. I've always enjoyed listening to you play, like I said, and it's always
fun jamming.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's definitely always fun for me as like kind of a soloer to when I don't have to like look back there, you know, or the bass and drums and rhythm guitar when they have it on lockdown. It's like it's so easy for us, you know.
You can just hang out.
Yeah, and I don't, you know, and fighting with fast, slow. There you are. Oh no, lost you. You know,
or a drummer can't pull the fill off he's trying to do.
Yeah, but it's always really nice to play with people like yourself because you know. But yeah, definitely keep up the good work, and thanks for coming in, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
Come out.
This is Kris Schnebelen.
Hey, thank you very much.
Playing around Kansas City. Come check him out. All sorts of places. But we will be back next time on Casey Music Talk with more people talking about stuff. So, alrighty, we're out of here. Take it easy.